Welcome to our greatest American art form.
The mixtape.
Now, for all of you kids who don't know,
Traditionally, a mixtape is a homemade compilation of media from multiple sources, recorded into a medium like a CD, a VHS, or cassette tape.
what we are presenting to you here is something we call Mixtape Therapy,
A collection of authentic conversations,
often wacky conversations,
inspired by what inspires us.
except instead of a cassette tape, we are bringing you a podcast
So just as you might share a mixtape, we share these conversations with you.
in the hopes that they spark a similar connection to the good old mixtape. Now,
Join us for a little
some
mixtape
mixtape therapy.
therapy.
Scottie, you and I podcast for the love. I mean, maybe you podcast for the views, but I don't know what
I'm not podcasting for the views. Let me tell you something.
we are not podcasting for the views or the listens, except for the listens of,
Hey, do you know, let me share this in common with us. If we leave all this in,
we might.
there is one of our mutual friends that tells me he listens all the time. And
Yeah.
if you're listening to this mutual friend that you know who you are,
The best.
the fact that you listen, like, makes me want to do this. Like,
In
he
fact,
comes.
Maybe
he
you're
comes
the
to-
only maybe
What's
you're the
that?
only I said, like, maybe you're the only reason why we're doing this. That's not true. I do it for Scottie and myself.
But I mean, to get that kind of feedback, like, because like basically he was like, I don't listen to your regular podcast. I only listen to that one. And that meant something. You know what I mean? It meant something because how he's choosing to take his time. So thank you, friend, that we won't mention your name. So since it's been me just bringing stuff to the table, okay, let me tell my quick background, and I want to know what you think. Because have you seen The Big Lebowski?
Of course. In fact, when people ask me what are like my top 3 movies, top 5 movies, Big Lebowski always makes it.
Are you ready for this?
For your top 5.
I've
I ready?
never seen The Big Lebowski.
What? Then how are we going to?
Okay. Stop. Okay. So I heard about from somewhere else that Jeff Bridges and this guy wrote the book called The Dude and the Zen Master. And
Yes.
because I do audiobooks, I went looking for it, but there's no audiobook on it. So I was just looking to anything I could listen to about it. And what I found was this other podcast that's done at like some university in LA where they interviewed the two guys talking about it, right?
Yes.
And now, like, The Big Lebowski is on, like, it's on my to-do list of like things I want to see based on them talking about the book and experience and stuff. So the fact that you have seen it and I've never seen it really helps me in a lot of ways understand more about what I'm fixing to take in and what it means and all that stuff. So that's why I want to hear from you. So what do you got, Hannah? You are the expert in this situation, totally.
Oh man. Well, explaining like why you love The Big Lebowski, it's like, why is the sky blue? I don't know. It's just a lovable movie. It's amazing. And it's I mean, it's a movie that is weird and iconic. And what I love about what they said in the podcast is like, it's about a bunch of people who are stupid. And so that's why we can all relate to it. And I loved that because yes, 100%. It is, and it's not like these people are uniquely stupid, but it takes place in this sort of mundane world of a bunch of like unemployed slash underemployed dudes who bowl. Like their big thing is bowling. And spoiler alert, their world gets rocked when the main character, Jeff Bridges' character, the dude, gets mistaken for a guy who's a billionaire and super important, and then hijinks ensue. But this is not a movie that one watches for the plot. I think one watches it to really be in the presence of Jeff Bridges' character, which is the dude. And the dude, much like, well, it's not surprising to me that there was a book written about like the dude and the Zen Master, because, well, he is not particularly talented. He's not particularly intelligent. He's just like a stoner who just shows up. There's something incredibly lovable about him. And what makes the dude kind of stand out is that he has a wisdom about him in his total simplicity. Like in being simple and kind of dumb, there is something very wise and almost soothing about the dude. Now, I don't know if everyone would agree with that statement. It's also just a hilarious movie. Like there are so many iconic lines, and it's like a ridiculous, totally ridiculous romp. But what this has me thinking about is how so many of life's biggest truths and nuggets of wisdom are so simple that you could call them stupid, right? I mean, depending on who you are, and depending on your opinion, man, which if you've watched The Big Lebowski, you know what that is. Depending on your opinion, man, maybe you think the world is incredibly complex and the secret to life is incredibly complex. But usually it comes down to some pretty basic, fundamental stuff. And if you know anything about Zen Buddhism, the koans that they're referring to, which I think you and I talked about koans, Scottie, but it's these quasi-nonsensical, really weird statements, short statements that somehow try to capture the essence of reality. Kind of an impossible thing to do, to capture the essence of reality in a few short words. And yet we do that all the time when we say, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about love. Or Scottie's favorite thing, which is take care of yourself so you can be the best version of yourself to show up for everyone else, right? These truisms that, I mean, on their surface, they're mundane, they're simple, they're obvious, but there's a tremendous amount of wisdom that comes from simplicity. And when we overcomplicate things, that's actually when we get into truly stupid territory. That's my little pitch there, right? That like the simplicity is actually quite often the wisdom. Those are some initial thoughts.
Okay, what did you think? Had you heard the book? Were you familiar with the book?
I am not familiar with the book. I know that, like, you know, the dude abides, and I know about all like the dude culture is strong, but no, I did not know about this book specifically.
Okay, so then as someone that has seen the movie,
Yes.
what did you take away from the actual like podcast?
From the podcast. Let's see.
Because we talked a lot about marriage in there, which I thought you might find interesting.
Yes,
And
yes,
then everything is relationships, which
yes,
I thought was interesting, right?
yes.
And
There were so
one
they went on a lot of
go.
tangents too.
Yeah, go.
Similar to Scottie and I, with any two dudes talking about stuff, they go on a lot of different tangents. I mean, the marriage part was really interesting to me, especially as a woman, where Jeff Bridges just like didn't want to get married for the longest time and was terrified of getting married and was like deeply afraid of that commitment, which he was very open with his then girlfriend, now wife, about. And I mean, listening to that, I'm like, who is this woman and why is she sticking around with this person who's so fundamentally unsure? Yes, of
Can I jump in real quick?
course.
In that moment where he talked about that, and then he talked about how they talked about it, and then he talked about how they talked about things going forward,
Mm.
meaning that he said, you know, sometimes like I just say whatever I say, and she just listens, and then she says whatever she says, and I just try to listen, and then there's no solution. We just move on. And
Yes.
I was like, that is relationships in a nutshell. Right. And I thought that was the most, I thought the rest of the thing, he kind of hammed it up for like the story. You know what I mean? I'm sure,
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of playboy he was, but I mean, apparently, he didn't want to get married. But I think as a human being, he's not that out there, you know?
No, I think actually the part that resonated the most with me about that was when he said, I think we fear marriage and commitment for the same reason that we fear death. There's some kind of end, right?
Sure.
Like there's something about marriage that feels scary because it connotes in our brain this idea of like that is the end, which in many ways it is, right? It's the end of being single. It's the end of how so many stories end, right? Like, and then they got married, right? But there is something when you get married, you are essentially ending all these other possibilities with all these different people, not to mention ways of living in the world as a single person, right? And I thought that was, I just thought that was such a great point, right? And you think that something like marriage is just going, like the death of the experience or the death that getting married connotes is just going to be the end of something rather than something all its own that's going to open up to all different kinds of richness and experience. And depending on what you think about death, we could maybe say the same thing. You don't know till you get there all the richness that is to be gained. But yeah, I also loved that moment, Scottie, where that's where so many of my couple sessions end up, right? In couples therapy. And I know that might be disappointing for some people to hear that you often get to the end of an argument with your partner and there's not a solution, there's not a resolution, but all it is, wow, I love you. And we've got maybe some fundamentally different ideas about this thing, and I'm never going to fully understand you, but I'm choosing to be here with you anyway.
Well, I think that, I mean, it's a real easy concept to understand that you want to be heard. As a human being, you want to be heard by other human beings, right? And so, could it be only that? Like, could it just be that? Like, you just want to be heard? Like, it couldn't be anything. Does it have to be anything else? Does a problem need to be solved, right, in this moment or whatever? And it's like, I'm always in this book, this nonviolent communication book that I keep reading, right? And what he really talks about is you gotta sort through all that to get down to what you actually need, like what is really going on. You know what I mean? And if you don't get that stuff kind of like out of the way, it's hard to kind of get down there sometimes. You know what I mean? But also, you don't want to just like cover the other person in shit while you're doing it. So like it needs to be selective and productive, I guess I would say.
Mm. I'm also thinking too, I don't know how these two things tie together. Maybe we'll find a link, maybe we won't. But kind of going back to this idea of so many of the secrets of life come down to these simple, stupid things that on their surface seem unsatisfying, right? It seems unsatisfying to say, like, yeah, you and your partner are going to have this conversation. You're going to realize that you fundamentally don't fully understand each other, but you just need to be heard. And the way that The Big Lebowski ends, spoiler, but come on, you need to have seen The Big Lebowski, uh, is they go on this wild and crazy journey to blah, 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 blah. It doesn't even matter, right? It's like super plotty and heisty and all these different types of things. But how the movie ends is with one of their friends dying. And they're saying goodbye to this friend and spreading his ashes over the ocean. And so the link for me there is keeping in mind what's really important and where we're all headed. And I don't just mean death, but kind of death, honestly. And we've been talking about death on the podcast a fair amount. But kind of keeping that part in mind, where would you rather focus your attention? Like, are you going to focus it on the fixing and the plots and the moves and the like trying to get things to go differently? Or do you want to bring your full presence to what is?
Well, it's
Who,
like
who you're really with, who you really are, And yeah, and really just trying to be with reality, be with that person, be in these moments. Like where do you want to spend your energy?
It's like the part where he said, you know, you can't be too attached to not being attached, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's such a balance. And it's like it's for me, you know, there was a great part in the and it, I don't forgive me, I don't know the other guy's name. I can't remember his name, the other dude that was
I don't
like
know either because I haven't heard of
poor,
him.
poor guy. We'll put it, I'll put it somewhere in the credits or something. But he said that as he got older, like, you know, the whole idea is like be in the moment, right? Like to be in the moment of where you are. He goes, but as you get older, you realize that's all you can remember,
Yes, I
you know?
love that.
And that's really I feel myself there a lot. I feel myself that like I just try to be really so present that a lot of times when I go back and I watch our podcast or what I like, it's like that's me. Like I did that. Like I don't even remember like being like, you know what I mean? Because I'm ultimately there with that person or here with you or trying to be, you know what I mean? And I think that sometimes our attachments to ideas and things hold us back from like I mean that's obvious, like hold us back from growing, right? Like you want to have memories, but you don't want to look too far in the future either, you know, like you're constantly adjusting the balancing of the boat, you know.
Well, and oh man, I think there's something important too, right? Having a movie where the main characters are people with what we might call like pointless lives or silly lives, or right, it's like a bunch of guys, like single guys, I think, that hang out and bowl. Um, but in in kind of putting things within those parameters, or these like you take these people's lives that seem very like simple or pointless or non-desirable. I say this a lot and don't take this the wrong way, but I think every human existence stripped down to like the day-to-day moments or actions kind of feel mundane. I think even the most exciting person's life feels sort of mundane, like when it's stripped down to its basics. It's like, right, it's like you go to this moment, and then you show up for this moment, and then you show up for this moment. Um, but what actually makes life is the fullness that you bring to those moments. And for the guys in the story, what's so lovely about it is they are taking their silly or unserious lives incredibly seriously. Um, and there's, I think there's something to be said for that, right? That you can look at your life as a whole or zoom out from it and be like, oh, all I did today is do this, or I'm just kind of going through the motions. Um, but the richness to be had is is in those mundane moments. I mean, that's all we have, right? It's like it is just in these moments of presence. It's all we can actually hope to truly experience in life. Um, Even though our brains hate to do that, right? Our brains love being in the future and they love being in the past more than anything.
Okay, I'm gonna say something really crazy. I mean, he kind of mentioned it, but like he said, this really hit me hard yesterday. I mean, I think we've said this before, but yesterday just hit me really hard. He goes, everything you do is relationships, right?
Mm.
So, like, when you think about this, it's
Oh
like
yeah.
my relationship with this chair, my relationship with this computer,
Mm.
my relationship with the environment that I am, the friends that I choose, every single thing is relationships and how I nurture it, right? Everything. How I take care of this chair determines how long it lasts,
Mm.
right? You know what I mean? And like, just like some people take their car for granted or their parents for granted or whatever else it is, it's all about the relationships you have with everything that is in your little world. And I don't think we ever look at it because that comes back to the thought of like the mundane. You're like,
Mm.
that's so mundane to think about my relationship with a chair. What, I don't have time for that, right? But you do have time for that because you made time to sit in it, You know what I mean? So like, how do you want that time to be? Do you want to be comfortable? Do you want to be uncomfortable? If you're uncomfortable, are you going to get up, or are you just going to bitch about it and be like, oh, this chair sucks? You know what I mean? And so
Yes.
that I find myself, like, I've never thought of this before. I find myself getting those little wins all the time. It's this is the best one. It's when
Okay.
I have the argument with myself whether I should get up and go to the bathroom early in the morning when I know my alarm is going to go off like in the next hour. Should I just
Oh, yes.
should I just
Okay.
lay in bed and suffer and not go to the bathroom, or should I get up and go to the bathroom? And I started telling myself, what are you doing?
Yes.
Get up and go to the bathroom. Like what is that? And like make a like it's in its essence, it's stupid. Like, you know what I mean? It's stupid that you would hold your bladder and go, well, I'm gonna try to sleep. You know what I mean?
This is
Like,
something I do exactly. Also, again, I have to mention this because it is exactly these stupid mundane moments that connect people so deeply, right? Um, because I'm like, I do that exact same thing. That's so funny. I was actually talking to a client about this who was laughing when they were describing this dumb thing that they do when they're feeling sad or low. And I'm like, would it surprise you to hear that I do that exact same thing, right? Um, anyway, go on. This
no, but that's what, when they said that I don't know how they worded it, that people are stupid.
Mm,
What they meant is we're all equally as stupid. We're
yes.
all equally in any moment can make the dumbest decision ever, right? We're all fallible of that. And like when I talk about the going to the bathroom, that's why we relate to that. And that's why even not seeing the movie and you describing it, I can feel that the reason people like the movie is not necessarily, maybe it's they see themselves, maybe it's they see their friends, maybe they see people they know, but it's where the relationships that they probably currently have that they connect them with that because they see those relationships. They see those same things that are in their life, the mundane of their life, right? Just a lot of people don't make the translation of like, why can't I enjoy my life as much as those guys are enjoying their life,
Mm,
right? Why can't I be as engaged in my life as those guys? Because those guys, I mean, if it wasn't a movie, would have the courage of their convictions to be exactly who they are with no apologies, right? And I've never seen the movie, but that's what I'm going to assume, right?
yes.
And
Yes.
that's showing up authentically. That's showing up as yourself, right? It's showing up where sometimes people are going to be like, "What the fuck's up with this guy?" But like, I mean, that'll never stop happening to me. I don't think. Not the person that I am. I'm constantly giving people a chance to go, what the fuck? So I've just learned to embrace it more and go like, this is who I am. And just like, I hope it doesn't offend you too much because that's not my intention. But if it does, like maybe you should talk to me about it or figure it out on your own.
Okay. When did you decide that you were going to start showing up that way?
I think I mean, I don't know if I've ever talked about, I haven't, I've kind of avoided it. So maybe I have, maybe I haven't, but there was a point after my divorce where, I'd spent a lot of my life trying to control everything, make sure everything works out perfectly and blah, blah, blah. And then something happens that you can't control. Like there's just, this other person doesn't want to be with you anymore. So like, like you can't like hold them hostage and stuff.
Yes.
Right. And so when I spent the majority of my time living for another person or other people, I just decided I'm going to start living for me.
Mm,
And like, I'm a good person. I like my intention's never to hurt people's feelings. That's not who I am. I wasn't raised that way. I'm gonna do it. Hopefully I can be aware of it, say I'm sorry, try to, say sorry quickly and make up for it or whatever it takes. But like all the other stuff that's basically your opinion about what you think I should be doing. I mean,
mm.
that's just your opinion, dude. What does he say in the movie? Fuck, I wish I knew the line.
Well, I'm going to try to get it exactly. It's like, yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
That's like your opinion, man. Because
Yeah.
that's the way I feel. Like, when people criticize me or whatever else it is, it this, this morning, that whole podcast debacle I had, right? I start thinking in my head, this person probably thinks that like, I'm like unprofessional and whatever. And I was like, I don't care. I don't
Oh,
care.
because you canceled.
What's up?
Oh, because you canceled
Yeah.
on this.
Like,
Yeah.
like I canceled like day up, but like, okay, that's fair. You can think I'm unprofessional, but let me just say, I tried to set us up for success.
Yes.
I tried as hard as I could, as hard as you would let me, as much as you were willing. And like, again, what is my time worth? I'm having a much better time. I don't know that. That's crappy. I shouldn't say that. I don't know, but I'm saying I was already going into it with like kind of like, because also this person was like, I'm on a time schedule and like I can't do it this and I can't go too long. And I was like, that's not what I do here. I don't know what you do on other podcasts, but that's not what I do here. And I have really gotten to a point where I take pride in how I show up for my podcast and how different it must be than being on other people's podcasts, and what that does not only for me but my family and that person and the relationships I'm building and everything. You know what I mean? And some people just don't want to put that much effort into it, and I'm just not going to I'm going to show up like that for everything. Like that's how I show up for my kid, that's how I show up for my partner, that's how I show up for my hopefully for my clients and work and my parents, and like, and when I can't, I make sure I recharge and then go do all that mundane shit all over again.
Well, yeah. I mean, Scotty, when I think about you, I just think about someone who wants to be wherever you are in that moment. Like you actually want to be where you are. And I don't see you in all these other moments. I'm sure you do plenty of things that you don't actually want to do. But what feels so important about you and your podcast is this idea of I want you to be here and you want to be here. Like that's kind of like the fundamental thing that makes this whole thing go.
Like when okay, when someone if I record a live podcast and like someone like doesn't turn their phone off and like checking their watch, they got like an Apple Watch, checking their watch. They put us on a time limit. They I don't know. They don't feel present.
Yeah.
And I've done everything I do can set like, like to set it up to be present. You know what I mean? Then it's like, well, there's nothing I can do about this. You know what I mean? And maybe I can get them into it, but like some people just they're not connected. They don't know how to connect. I mean, they don't know how to tap into this thing that's bigger than us.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because, if I've said this before, my best friend found Jesus before I did. Okay.
Okay.
And like this guy, let me tell you something. This dude was a piece of work. I mean, he got a lot of trouble. Like, I mean, baby, my mom was not happy we were friends. I'll put it that way. Right. And he goes, it's going to change your life. He goes, you just need to do it. And I was like, man, get out of here with that bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's what everybody says. But let me say this. It's just a general blanket statement. When you commit to something bigger than yourself, you can call it whatever you want, but it's going to reward you back. And it's going to reward you back at times and in ways that maybe you didn't know you would get, or you didn't want, or you didn't think you wanted, or that's all you got, or whatever. But like, I mean, what kind of asshole like determines what kind of gift they get? Right? Somebody's giving you a gift. The universe is giving you something. What are you going to do with it? Right? So at the moments where I'm being humbled the most by the universe, I'm like, this is really not the gift I wanted, but what am I going to do with it? And I think those responses impact what happens next.
Yes.
And that's really hard to do because that requires you being very present in the moment and not getting caught up with like, why did my sister-in-law send that rude text or whatever it is? You know what I mean? Like you have to take a breath, you know what I mean? You have to breathe for a second and just like, I had some issues with selling my truck.
Yes,
And then let me,
the truck's been the
like,
theme.
I know. But the point is that at the end of the day, I realized I really don't have to do anything. Like I don't have to do anything right now. I don't the truck runs fine. I don't have to sell it right now. And so I have time. And like, it's like I made a decision. Well, it needs that there's there's a question or a decision now. There needs to be an answer, right?
Yes.
Like I have time. I mean, now if it was like my truck didn't run or, I needed a vehicle or something, that'd be different. But I have time. And so once I started looking at that, I was like, oh, this is a lot easier. You know what I mean? And in a way, it kind of like got me to, it was something I went through where I was very present for it going on. And I was very aware of, I kept telling myself, I go, it's not going to be like this in 2 or 3 days from now.
Hmm.
So how are you going to, I think maybe you talked about this last episode, like how are you going to handle it? Right. And so that taught me a lot in that moment. So now, like when situations come up that I can feel my anxiety and stuff rising up, I'm kind of like, well, in 2 or 3 days from now, like it's probably not going to be a big deal. Or if like Aaron's upset with me, I don't feel this necessary need to have to solve it.
Hmm.
Like we got cross on something like the other day, and I said like I really just don't want to talk about this right now in front of Lucy, and then we never talked about it because I think we were on the same page, but egos and like you get little this ego battle, and like I think in that moment I needed to be heard, and that's it, and so then we didn't have to really come back to it, and I think that's a learned skill on like how you show up and approach the situation because you can't control what the other person can do, right?
Sounds
When I
like letting go.
it comes back to my nonviolent communication thing. Like this, I mean, I'm so sold on this book, right? And the idea that can I say the things that I need without judging you for what I'm not getting? Because it's not necessarily 100% always your fault. And maybe I just want to be heard. And that's it. You know what I mean? And maybe my partner just wants to be heard. And that's it.
Oh, it's hard though.
Uh the skill of doing absolutely nothing is harder than doing something or anything. Like when you
Yes.
think, can I sit and do nothing? Just sit and do nothing. And I'll say that to somebody and they'll go, yeah, like I do it all the time, where I just like lay in bed and like I go, no. Like you bring intention to trying to do nothing.
Are you talking about meditating, Scotty?
I could be. I don't want to say that because because it doesn't have to feel that way. I'm really sold on this idea of like, can you just do it like 30 seconds at a time across the entire day?
Hmm.
I'm not asking you to meditate. I'm just asking you to count to.
Pause.
I'm asking you to pause and count to 30. That's all I'm asking you to do. And I do that all the time. And I think when like people are like, man, like, you're always so cool, or you're always so chill, or, whatever. I think it's because by practicing a pause, like shooting a jumper or whatever, when it comes to a moment where I need a pause, I can go, hey, you're not going to feel like this 3 or 4 days from now. So why don't you just get busy trying to solve the problem as best you can? Maybe bounce some ideas off some people, and come up with a solution. You have time. You know what I mean? Like remember, because I paused before, I can pause there, and I don't feel as anxious. Does that make sense?
It does. Although you just said you pause, but you are also like doing things.
Well,
But
in
the
the sense of like,
pause
no, in the sense of like the pause I take intentionally,
is to not freak out.
so that when something happens, my old mode is, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, and so now I can go, okay, what should I do? And like, and at some point I'm hoping it's like, all right, we can, we got this. That's, but the seriousness of the matter determines how well I pause too. If it's something like something happened to my kid, I don't know if there's any amount of pause practice I could do that's going to make that better. You know what I'm saying? But I'm hoping, because what if I have to make an emergency decision for her?
Yeah.
Like, what if I have to make a split decision and I'm panicked and I'm not able to pause? I'm not able to take a breath when it really matters. That's all the things I think about. You know what I mean? And I think that you as a human being, you and everyone else has to have something that's that important to you that you want to do that with. So like, it's important for all of us in a weird way,
Well, and the pause seems like, I mean, we can draw that to so many different spiritual traditions, but that is the closest thing that we come to spirituality, right? I think like the stopping and bringing your awareness to what is happening in that present moment and deciding to get off of autopilot. I mean, that's all we have in terms of connecting us to something larger than ourselves. That's absolutely vital if we want to ever feel connected to something larger, right? Is stopping and doing nothing. And yet we live in a world that gives us the constant message that like perpetual motion is like constant motion is what we need, or the safe place, and that there's something really scary or bad about actually stopping where we are.
Do you know what this is? So okay, I have a whole thing about this, but do you know it brings me to the present moment and connects me sometimes the most to something bigger than me?
What?
Picking up trash.
Okay.
Picking up random trash. Just like I'll go on a walk and there's nobody around. There's no reason why I have to pick up this trash, right? But when I pick it up, it's like in that moment, it's like, oh, like I'm making time for it. This is important enough because I care about my world to pick it up and throw it away. And when I do that, it makes it that much better for everybody else. So I feel more connected in.
Even though it's small and tiny, and you could easily not do it.
And this is why I want a water backpack that somehow has like a trash thing in the bottom, because people don't put out trash cans. Like I'll be walking for like a half a mile with just shit in my hand. And I'm just like, why are there no trash cans on this trail? But if I had like a little thing that like extends and I could like put a little backpack, like to put trash in, I could dump it or something.
This is how Scottie becomes a millionaire.
Yeah, like
trash bag.
Who wants to have trash next to like your water and like your snacks or like
more trash cans?
We need more trash cans. That's my real big thing. I'm just gonna get big barrels, put my logo on them, and just drop them places, and I'll dump them myself.
Yeah,
I can do that. They can't stop me.
You can do whatever you want, Scottie.
No, I'm pretty sure they could stop me. I'm pretty sure I'm
actually you can't do whatever you want. Ooh. Okay. Question for you.
Okay. Hang on a second. Hold that.
Yeah.
If you have something that's Mixtape Therapy for you, you let us know. Hannah, they're going to have to see the bonus clip to hear your question. We'll see you next time.
Okay, sure.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, yeah.